Welcome back to 7th Grade Mustache. On today's episode, we'll be speaking about cash, currency, paper currency, coins. Paper currency has humanity at a tipping point between freedom and fascism. The pandemic and accompanying lockdowns have been wildly successful, creating the right environment for total control of society, health, money, and food. Huge portions of the population, influenced by fear and mind control, are in complete submission. Every aspect of life and how it functions is now approaching Dr. Evil's grasp. Why the need for total control? There are many reasons for this. Many people have spent decades attempting to figure this out. The reality is, however, that we have no more time to figure out why. Humanity is in the middle of the train tracks, and the train is coming down the tunnel toward us at full force.
I think the why is irrelevant. I think sometimes people get way wrapped up.
Think about the way people respond to something. There's people that respond to a person attacking them, as in,
Yes.
Why did you do this? Then there's the people like, I don't give a shit. You're not going to do that. Like I was talking about earlier with the immune system, and your immune system should be the coldest NBA center ever, just rejecting everything. Get that bullshit out of here.
Shit.
You need to be the same way when they come at you with that nonsense.
Sometimes people want to sound intelligent. They're thinking of what sounds intelligent and not what is intelligent. And I know that sounds kind of corny. We know somebody that tries to get real philosophical, and that person's not a philosophical person. Well, what about Thursday, 1912? No, look, right now, the big thing is, a lot of these measures are for control. Cash initially was for control, but we ended up making it for freedom. And we didn't realize that. Banking is about control, because if you have money, you can't spend it, or you don't have access to it. Because look at Kanye. Just giving an example, I'm not talking about the person, but when they froze his assets, because how did he go from having 2.4 billion to 400 million in 3 days? They froze his assets. See, so those banking things that we swear are for convenience are for control. And so right now they're trying to convince you, and I shouldn't say convince. Digital currency may offer some level of freedom, but the thing is, if technology goes bad and the shit freezes up and you ain't got no fucking scanner or whatever the fuck you need to exchange money, that's what makes cash so special. Cash, you don't need a cash register. If you got cash and somebody has something you want, y'all can make that deal happen. And the thing is, look at the drug trade. Look at the illegal trades out there where, oh yeah, we can stop those. You can't stop the drug trade because they're dealing in cash. Now, you got some situations where you got these drug lords that had literally billions of dollars sitting in warehouses and shit, and they had to launder it and move it, blah, 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 all that shit. But the bottom line was, if you can't stop the movement of cash. Well, that's where they're trying to convince you of this digital currency is the same way. It's going to offer you a bunch more freedom. Look, the only reason we care about digital is because we want the next Bitcoin. That's the only reason we give a fuck about that. Because I want to be that nigga that grabs that shit early on, or early adapter, not because I want to use it, but because your coin and your token is worth.
As an investment instrument, that's why you want to use it.
So that's what we're talking about right now, is that many of these things we don't realize they're about control. When you read about these different legendary families, these Rothschilds, they created banking cartels. It was banking. Banking is not about freedom. Banking is about, hey, I'm the middleman, and I'm creating a situation. And then we talk about wars. America has only had 3 years in its existence of 200 years that we weren't at war, but either we caused the war or we start the war, or we end the war. That's what these banking cartels were doing. They were lending money to both sides, that kind of shit. And so it's really important to understand what is a control is used for control, or what is a control narrative. And sometimes we don't realize that. That's what we're telling y'all, this cash thing. Me and my brother just talked about this shit. Me and Roscoe were like, hey, how many places have you walked in where they don't take cash? And at one point in time, it was illegal. Literally, the law said you had to take cash. This is, America. And so I think the biggest warning I'm trying to give to people is many times we fashionize ourselves out of existence. And what I mean by this is when something pops into fashion, we jump on that shit. To be an early adopter, Apple iPhone, I want to be the first to have some shit, not realizing it's literally eliminating your usefulness.
Some of us are Christians, some aren't. Many people don't know why people eat fish on Fridays, but it seems To many, that Fridays are a day to prep for something bigger, such as Good Friday. In American culture, we have a lot of Friday events, summer Fridays, half-day Fridays, dress-down Fridays. When Mary Holland from the Children's Health Defense suggested Cash Fridays, it made perfect sense. In order to have a full digital monetary system with complete central control, the circulation of paper currency has to end. There is an online video for the Bank of International Settlements General Manager Augustin Karsten in October of 2020 telling you exactly what central bankers intend to do and where they're going with their plans. We've already heard there are coin shortages. Some are saying that the Fed has stopped printing paper currency. That can't be confirmed, but it really doesn't matter. We know the game. To slow this train down, we can keep paper currencies and coins circulating. This is a very easy thing for all of us to do. But when you look at the digital realm and the crypto realm, there are people in government and private individuals that have laundered billions of dollars illegally. HBSC laundered millions of dollars for drug cartels. Hunter Biden had a laptop and it had evidence of money laundering on the laptop. Then he got sloppy and he allowed that sensitive information on the laptop into the hands of anyone that used the laptop at a local repair shop. Sam Bankman-Fried and FTX laundered aid money for Ukraine and then funneled it back through political campaign contributions to the same political party that creates cryptocurrency regulations while saying Bitcoin is a national security threat.
Hey, Friedman was the one who started his own cryptocurrency. Now, if you want to look that shit up, that's the one.
But how is he the only person that got arrested and is getting in trouble for this money laundering scheme? He's the fall guy.
He should be because, look, people, don't laugh. People like Tom Brady lost $600 million. The reason Brady's broke, he's not broke like.
No, I'm talking about the people at FTX. I'm talking about
I know what you meant.
The people that he was dealing with within the United States government. Everybody that could easily be implicated in that money laundering scheme, but yet he was the only one and nobody else was involved in it. It was just, he was the mastermind. Get the fuck out of here, man. The CIA laundered billions of dollars through BCCI, a criminal bank that ran a sex trafficking operation. So the main cause of global financial instability is not irresponsible bank policies or commercial banks engaging in criminal behavior. No, instead, the massive reorganization of stakeholders and increased interaction between local and federal law enforcement, essentially fusing bank institutions with law enforcement, in turn making the all-seeing eye on the back of the dollar bill into a real-life situation. Now, they often want to complain that, cryptocurrency allows for, dark web, seedy transactions. That shit has been happening way before crypto came along, and it'll still continue, especially if you got all these politicians with their dirty ass hands in a cookie jar. But when you look at the numbers, you see that in 2020, 0.34% of crypto transactions were criminal activity in nature. That dropped from the previous year and even more from the year before that. So the U.S. Federal Bank and the European central banks seek full control over all financial transactions on the earth, and they prove this by looking the other way when white-collar crime is committed. In the meantime, trying to convince the public that they have it under control by suppressing the shit out of the common person.
One of the things that blew my mind about 3 or 4 months ago, where they were talking about Jamaica. I got friends from Jamaica. I'm not trying to diss Jamaica. It's a little more third world country than we are. They're adopting cryptocurrency way earlier. Like
El Salvador adopted it as their national currency first, before anybody else did.
So these third world countries, they're being manipulated, first of all. But how do you gonna make motherfuckers at the fruit market? You know what I'm saying? How you gonna make motherfuckers who are selling
has to have a phone in their hand.
So the thing is, they're not really early adopters. They're just making these declarations. You got a couple businesses doing it, but the average motherfucker on the street is still using paper currency, and even though they're trying to eliminate it. See, that's the hustle. So it's just, God, I can't even use that example now. Look, it's the same thing when you have people like Bill Gates talking about helping people in the middle of the Amazon. You did wink, wink. You know what I'm saying? Like these motherfuckers don't need what you're offering. It's not realistic. It's not something that's plausible for the average person. But you make these declarations. We're ahead of the curve. It's about control. It's about controlling your masses. And you know somebody out there in the middle of Jamaica smoking ganja, picking fruit, ain't gonna adopt no digital currency. But it doesn't make a difference because officially you guys have done it. And it's just I think that digital, when you are somebody who really knows about it and you're really using it the way, like when Bitcoin first got set up by the NSA or the CIA or whoever set it up first, if you use it that way, then yeah, it gives you a bunch of freedom. But for the average person who's not an early adopter, doesn't have all these open markets, doesn't have the shit set up on an individual laptop, doesn't have the shit set up on a little zip drive someplace, if you ain't that person, everybody else is getting used. Everybody else is just fodder.
On one day, within 2 transactions, separated by 30 minutes of each other, I came across some absolute fuckery. I went to FedEx to send off a package. I have been to this location and paid with cash many times. I went in there and I fill out the form. I got it in the box and I hand it to her, check all the address and shit. She's like, okay, just swipe your card. I said, I'm paying cash. Pulled out a wad of money. I'm like, U.S. tender. She's like, we can't accept cash. I said, yes, you can. It's the law. You have to accept American legal tender. She said, I can't. We can't accept cash here. I said, so tell me why is it that some locations accept cash and then this one doesn't? You're making the rule up. And so the price that she quoted me to send off the package was $28. So I'm like, all right, cool. I'm going to go down the street. They open 30 minutes. So I go there and I'll ship it off. I get to that location. Everybody there is cool. They cool. They're like, yeah, we'll take your cash.
Take cash.
But the price to send off the package was $41. I said, hold up, bruh. This was $28 30 minutes ago. How did this jump in 30 minutes? He said, well, it's like a plane ticket price. They can fluctuate. He said, you might walk out of here, might go back down. I said, dude, that is
fuckery.
No. That's fuckery. But that is also them just fucking deciding which rate they want based on what? Fuel prices? Because fuel does not change that wildly in 30 minutes.
Look, but this is the same.
But hold on, I'm not done. So then I asked the manager on duty at the second location, what's the deal with the other locations and how come they didn't accept cash?
Yeah, that's where I'm going with it.
It was a black woman and she came straight with it. She said they're lazy and they didn't want to count the till at the end of the shift or beginning of the shift. So they just say that just to push people away.
To avoid work. Mm-hmm. Yeah, to avoid a little bit of work. But this is the whole thing that I've been trying to explain to people. AI can't count your money, can't count them dollars like a normal person would.
But listen,
and
listen, here's the thing. People will just go along to get along. And no cash. I can't tell you how many people I've come across. Hood people! They're like, I don't carry cash. You say that like you're so cutting edge. Like you're so on top of the ball, but you don't realize how much of a fucking slave you are. And when you tell people that shit, they be like, hold up, nigga, what? What you talking about? I'm like, think about it for a second, man. All of your transactions, I can look at on a graph and see where you're spending your money. So I can then create an algorithm for how you spend your money and where you're going to be at. So if I wanted to follow you and track you, I don't need to get in a car. All I got to do is look at how you spend your money. I can go
for the past year.
I can go, no, for the past month.
2 months. But you still know where they're going to end up at.
I can go to 1 or 3 locations at a certain time of day. And if I wanted to smoke your ass, all I had to do was just wait right there. And then I know you about to come up. I'm going to put some corrosive ass fucking thing on the fucking gas pump. Or better yet, on the fucking card reader where you're going to punch in your information. And it's going to eat your fucking hand off. I ain't even got to shoot you. You know, look, people don't think that far ahead because they're playing checkers. They're checkers players.
Look, in fact, what about, I'm going to say this shit, you're going to laugh. Hey, what about those Apple Pay drug dealers?
Oh,
selling
weed,
buying weed
Cash
with
App,
Apple Pay.
Selling weed with Cash App. Like, if you don't get your stupid ass out of here,
what the
snitching
fuck?
on your fucking self, man. The great thing about cash is that it's invisible and it's anonymous. People would joke that every dollar bill has some cocaine on it.
Cocaine on it. No, every $100 bill. Yeah, every $100 bill.
I actually like that shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, that shit makes me laugh when I consider that. And It means that the shit is well traveled. I mean, now, don't get me wrong, some crispy, $100 bills are nice, but at the same time, see, okay, let me go back. For those of you that are very young that are listening to the show, there was a time in the 90s when they first started putting these silver strips into $20 bills. They started with $20 bills first. They didn't put it in hundreds yet. They put it in 20s and then hundreds and then other currency. They put it in 20s first because 20s get circulated the most. So when they first started putting this shit in there, you would hear dudes that sit around in these hotel conversations. You would hear, yo, they can just drive by your house with a laser gun and just tell you how much money you got in your house. I'm like, first of all, you got to understand how powerful that gun would have to be. Okay, and how accurate. Now, Operation Tempest was going strong at that time, actually, where they could drive up next to your house with a van and scan it and see the predator vision, heat signatures inside your house. That was real. It's still real. But back then, the whole idea of having those inside the money, everybody was like, oh shit, they could trace us now. And that's when you start seeing these traffic cameras on the interstate.
Yes.
And I remember I called you. Called you and I was like, dude, they got these traffic cameras on the interstate. They didn't have them up there yet, but they had them down here. And the reason why they had them down here is because the Olympics was coming. And they had to clean up all this crazy shit. They got rid of all the homeless people the same way Gavin Newsom got all the homeless people off the streets of San Francisco 2 weeks ago, when Big Daddy China, Big Trouble in Little China was coming. You know what I'm saying?
Look, they talk about that. The two things that they talk about back then was at the airports. The one place that they have those scanners at the airport, because remember, you can't travel with more than $10,000 and go overseas. So motherfuckers was getting caught at the airport with $11,000, $12,000.
People don't think about it. You can put it in a box and ship it to yourself.
Oh yeah. Oh, but like I said, if the post office got scanners, they're gonna scan it. But I doubt it. Look, here's the deal. This is about that control shit. This is about controlling your movement. This is about them confiscating your money, saying that you stole it and not giving it back. It's all kinds of shit that comes from that shit. Now, about that Gavin Newsom shit, I just saw a big report about, they call it Fantasy Island. They ship a lot of homeless people to motherfucking Hawaii. They literally get them to go to Hawaii, and now they get over there, can't afford to get back. They're literally getting rid of people by sending them over there, knowing they can't afford to ever come back to the mainland.
Listen, check this out. I'm gonna tell you a story about transporting money over borders. So, back in the late 70s, early 80s, and through the rest of the 80s, the Hells Angels would travel across the borders. They would go north into Canada. And they wouldn't carry cash. They would have, instead of sleeve tattoos, they had a sleeve of Rolex watches. And they have probably about maybe 25 Rolex watches on their body. Easily worth about, I don't know.
100 grand.
No, probably 200 grand. And they could cross the border, fence these watches, turn it into cash, and there you go. See, people don't think in these ways because everybody is so fixated on convenience. But see, our economic system is geared toward providing more convenience and added value. Some convenience can be good, no doubt, but too much convenience is certainly bad.
But when people explain shit to you, like banking is not for saving money. Banking is for doing transactions. And people don't get, I save my money in the bank. Nope. The bank is simply for you to move your money easier, whether it's purchasing something, or hey, I want to do this, I want to do that. That's what banking is for. That
okay,
banking is not for saving money.
Here's the deal, everybody. You need to get a fireproof safe. You need to get a fireproof safe, and if you have a backyard, you need to dig a hole in the ground. You need to pour concrete in there. Okay, and then you need to make a little small vault right there that you can take this portable safe that you can carry under your arm and go put into that vault. And in that vault, you need to have a couple of things. You need to get these big desiccant bags. And what they are is, like, if you've ever been in a shipping container, you see these big plastic perforated bags that are on the walls to like absorb moisture. So you want to put them inside of there. And you want to put them in there to absorb all the moisture to make sure no mold or any bacteria builds up in there. Okay.
Look, whatever you hear these old folks that don't trust banks.
Hold it. Then you need to get yourselves some nice watches. You need to get some Rolexes and some Omegas and all that bullshit. And jewelry. And jewels. Not just jewelry, jewels. Okay? And get some gold coins and put them in there. And get some cash and put it in there. And what I would recommend is go and buy stuff and insist that the seller pay cash or the buyer pays cash. And the reason why I say this is because you can then go and take that and you can put it in the ground in this vault. Don't put all of your money in the bank. Stop trying to be so hip, slick, and cool. And
that's what this is about, fashion. I told you. Yes. They like the way it sounds, and that's
Listen, man, listen. The first wave of convenience brought by technological advancements in the first half of the last century included the automobile, electric lights, refrigerators, washing machines, supermarkets, drive-thrus, telephones, televisions, TV meals, TV dinners, processed food, and so many other innovations. However, by the late 1960s, convenience started to mean standardization and conformity for many people. The counterculture was precipitated by individuals needing to express themselves, to live deliberately, and to live in harmony with nature instead of trying to suppress it. Even though it might not be easy, self-sufficiency was perceived to be more vital and freeing than being yoked to the consumer's lifestyle.
Look, you were right about the automobile. The automobile was one of the biggest changes in everything. I was looking at a couple of different articles, and they were talking about like those brownstones in New York. You know, why do they have steps in front of them? Why don't they just have a front door? That's because the horse shit. There was so much horse shit from the wagons and all the horses and all that shit. And then that's when the automobile took over, was because of that. It's like, look, horses that market was completely eliminated. They tore down stables, they tore down all that shit. And we would never think that this whole thing, this architectural thing, had a practical reason, but a lot of the shit that we deal with, and it has practical reasons. This whole idea that convenience is more important than the people that use it is the craziest shit ever. That's why 2 episodes ago we talked about AI. Don't use that shit. People need to be doing those jobs. We talked about the fact that nobody wants to do these jobs. Y'all put that bug in people's ear. Look, if a motherfucker's paying $100 an hour, it's a lot of shit niggas will do, and they'll come to work. They'll take care of it. But by eliminating jobs, eventually we're going to run out of jobs and we're going to have more people. And they're telling you right now that we're overpopulated. We're not overpopulated. There's so much space in this world for people. It's crazy. But that idea of 15-minute cities, they're brainwashing you. They're gradually sticking this shit in your head.
They are moving you into a Soylent Green situation where there's a whole bunch of people, there's not enough food, and there's no work.
Look, opening the borders, that's a prime example. So if you got AI doing all these jobs, what the fuck are these motherfuckers you letting in this country going to do? Or, like I said, we can tell y'all they're letting in fighting age men, but you're not seeing the kids, the refugees, the women. You're not seeing that shit. That's because they want the motherfuckers to go to the military, and eventually they'll do a military action against their own people. And them motherfuckers do not care about the Constitution. We've talked about this shit. Look, we're just trying to tell y'all, use cash. There's no reason for you not to. Go get some cash. In fact, I'll be the first to tell you, look, you ever have like $5,000, $6,000 in your hand? Yeah, that shit'll get you hype. Like you walk around high all day just because you sold something or you did a transaction or you closed a deal. Look, that's some real shit. That's something tangible. We're getting away from tangible and we're getting on that whole how shit makes you feel.
Think about what you just said. Money gets you hype. It gives you a rush. You feel like you're doing something. Something just happened. But in that transaction, were there any fees that were deducted? You know what I'm saying?
That digital currency shit that they tax you.
But here's the thing, though. Here's another thing. If you are selling a car to anybody, make them go to the bank and get cash.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh, no, I'm straight up. Make them go to the bank and get cash because for two things. Anonymity. You're going to remain anonymous. And then number two, you are making that person get into the habit of holding a large amount of cash. It's going to do something for them as well.
I sold a car and motherfucker had paid me in cash, but of course they had to go to the ATM. So my son is looking at me getting the car, and I had this thick thing. He's like, "Oh my god, how much?" I'm like, "No, this is $4,000." But in his mind, it was a billion.
$1 billion.
$1 billion in 20s, my nigga. It looks different from where I come from. So it's like, but they had to go to ATM. ATM only that one she went to only kicked out 20s. So it was a bunch of 20s.
But here's the deal. See, you got to understand something. There's an energy attracted. There's an energy that surrounds large amounts of cash. Straight up and down. There's an energy around it, but it's all based on perception. Now, here's the thing. Once you have large amounts of cash in your clutches, you see things differently.
Oh, because the pressure...
Hold it. Your perception is so different. You have a big bag of money, you got a different perception on reality because, you have liquidity. Yes, you can make things happen really fast.
Also, there's some paranoia, but not the same. Like when you know what you're going to do.
If I walk up to a person and I say, "Hey, I'm gonna cash app you $5,000 if you do this for me," I'm gonna get a huge reaction, a huge difference in reaction if I walk up to a person with a bag of like $5,000 and I'm like, "Hey, see this bag of money?" He's like, "What's up? What you need me to do right now?"
You handle that.
It will get handled right away. But if a person has to think about, well, hold up, man, Cash App is going to take 0.3% of this. And then, so, all right, so that amount they're going to take out, can you just like put that on the back end so I can make sure I get the whole five? I'm like, my nigga, I got the 5 bands right here in my hand. I need you to go do this shit right now.
We sit here and we're worshiping the middleman. We're impressed by the middleman. Cash App and all these different transaction things. Look, my daughter had to send me a bunch of money. I had to go get her a car. And they took $143 out. I'm like, oh my God, look, you got to send me. I asked my daughter, like, hey, you got to send me the rest of that money. I ain't got no money.
But you know, it's crazy though. Wouldn't like Walmart to Walmart be cheaper than that though?
Yeah, but she's at work and she's like, hey, I got the money in my account.
I know, but it's so convenient. But it's so convenient.
No, say the word again, convenience. People are fucking selling their souls for convenience, and that's the whole problem.
Now, if I say, hey, I tell my job I gotta leave early today. Why? I have a personal emergency. Why? It's important. I gotta go. Okay, I will go leave work. You know what I'm saying? To go handle a large cash transaction in a heartbeat. Because if I go and I do a cash transaction, to me, the anonymity is worth it.
Yes. The anonymity is so because nobody needs to know what you're doing. Nobody knows what you have going on. Look, but this convenience thing we keep warning people about, it's like when a guy introduces his girl to his friend with the bigger dick. Look, hey, why don't you meet Leroy? You don't do that shit. You are literally pricing yourself out of the market. You're literally doing all this different shit. You're eliminating your job. You're eliminating your ability to make a living. And eventually you're creating a situation where socialism and communism and that shit has to exist. You even hear Elon Musk, well, everybody will have an allowance. What the fuck is an allowance? I'm a grown fucking man. I don't want no goddamn allowance. And that when people sit here and this shit happens, they don't understand that, hey, when you walk into Walmart and you see a person at the register, I go to the real person. They'll even tell me, hey, there's a kiosk over there. So
I don't care.
What?
I don't care. I want to interact with a person.
Yeah. Look, I don't like talking to computers. Like, even when I go to the bank, like, you got 3 or 4 shoots in the drive-thru. I go to the person. I'll sit there in line like, hey, I know they're over there, but I'd rather see you in the face.
I'll give you a perfect example. There's a certain part of town, they have a grocery store. And it's a nice grocery store because it's in a nice part of town. Now, I can go to the self-checkout. Now, the self-checkout until 3 months ago, you could use cash. Now the store, which is owned by Amazon, does not allow you to pay with cash at the self-checkout. So I pay with cash. So I'm going through, the regular line. The regular line has some nice looking black women in it. So what I'm going to do? I'm going to go look at the screen and go pay with a card? No, I can be anonymous and charming to these attractive black women in this line. Guess where I'm going? I'm going to the fucking line.
Look, stop letting these people thinking this cryptocurrency is some new wave of the future. Look, I get the fact that things do exist and new things come up, but don't eliminate the old things just because of that. There are some markets that things need to be eliminated. Like I told you, literally, they had horse shit in the streets. Cars made that better. That market got eliminated. You look at when we were kids, long distance was the biggest thing in the world. AT&T, MCI, blah blah
dude,
blah.
Not even that. Cell phones. When cell phones first came out, dude, I had people turn red in the face, angry when I told them how good of a bill. I mean, how good of a program that I have on my phone. I think I was getting like unlimited calling for $40 a month.
Way back
in 2000. And when people heard, because it started as a promo, and then the company that I was with just allowed me to like stay in this.
You were grandfathered. You were grandfathered.
Yeah, I was grandfathered in. I was in this like same plan for like 17 years. And dude, but listen, and dude, when I would like pay my shit, and I would like sometimes I would call to like, you know, get like information about something, not to pay my bill, but I always pay in person. But whenever I like call to like you know, get some information, they would always try to sell me a ridiculous ass plan. And I would say to them, I said, think about what you're offering me. No. I said, think about what you're offering me. You're reading a script, but you're not thinking about what you're saying. I have unlimited calling for $40, and you're offering me a plan that has 1,000 minutes for $60. You could hear a pin drop after I said it, just like now. You could hear a pin drop, and I'm like, yeah. So no, I don't want that. I'm not a dummy, man. What's wrong with you?
Look, but that's the problem with this thing called convenience. I think that one of the biggest messages that went out there, like with the Kardashians and these different things, where they're pushing luxury on people that can't afford luxury. And so since it's in style, you accept that shit. Like, oh no, man, you might get my bags for me. I can't afford a fucking valet, motherfucker. Don't park my car. Park my own car, nigga. Shit. But the thing is, that gives us the impression that we're doing so much more than what we're doing, and we're living this best lives and all this other shit, and you get sucked into that shit. That's not for every day. There are some things that are a delicacy. When you look at your diet, like hamburgers should be eaten twice a year. You shouldn't be eating hamburgers every day. Cheesecake, a couple times a year. But what the thing is, we get addicted to the delicacy, and we want that shit every day. No, that shit is deteriorating our health. That's the exact same thing going on with this banking system that they're hitting us with. That shit is deteriorating our health. And you're gonna fuck around, ain't gonna be no damn jobs left and shit. And look, we all seen the movies where AI takes over. Yeah, AI has had conversations with other AI, and they're designing chips. AI is designing chips. I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you people? You don't what are you doing? That's like having R. Kelly work at the daycare. No, you don't let these motherfuckers do that shit. You don't let AI design anything. The idea of AI, it should help us. It should be a calculator. It should pop up the NFL schedule, little shit like that. But you should not be allowing that motherfucker to do the shit it's doing.
So let's take some action. And here's how. Number one, use cash whenever possible. And let everybody know why you're using cash. Walk out on establishments that refuse to accept cash, like I did 2 days ago.
Boycott the motherfuckers, my nigga, for real.
Exactly. When using remote facilities where cash is not possible, use checks if you can. Now, if you pull out a check, boy, you will get some looks. I'll tell you what, man. Because straight up, old people are the ones that use checks. But also, business people use checks.
Yes. One of my daughters didn't know how to do a check, and she had to buy a car from me. Look, I remember one time.
Hold on. I'm not done. We understand that check companies are scrambling to fill orders of all the bank customers who have requested checks recently. Whether the indicator is banking statistics or anecdotal reports, cash use is clearly rising. Consider organizing in groups. So, a very well-known supermarket decided to go cashless in France. A group of 50 people got together and agreed that they would all do a big shop on the same day, piling in their grocery carts to the brim, each person getting to the checkout, the human checkout, and not the machines. and having everything scanned before bringing cash out. The staff was absolutely overrun, and the management was in a complete tizzy because everybody repeatedly and calmly, in a very organized, polite fashion, acting as if they do nothing, demanded to pay with cash. No edginess or rudeness, no humiliation. The supermarket quickly reinstated cash.
Oh my God.
Gas stations filling up with fuel, then only having to pay cash. Restaurants, groups of friends going out for dinner and nobody taking phones or credit cards, only cash. They are doing it in every single area of France, actually, simply refusing to be part of it. The reason it works is because it's organized in large groups. One person here, another there, doesn't work. It needs to be really carefully constructed and concentrated.
Look, back in the day, that's how you got shit done. You got organized. Boycotting different things. Well, on the flip side, show up with cash. Use fucking cash. Don't let these motherfuckers talk y'all out of a job. Don't let these people eliminate your well-being all for convenience, all because you want to imitate Elon Musk or imitate somebody rich. If you ain't rich, you ain't rich. Stop pretending like you are.
Number 2, go analog. We want a healthy balance of digital and analog transaction options. What we do not want is an all-digital system, whether it's CBDCs, central bank digital currency, or all of the other digital mechanisms. Some digitation is both healthy and efficient, but an all-digital system with regards to virtually anything is vulnerable to central control and manipulation. Roll back your use of digital systems and avoid biometric technology as much as possible, and don't use QR codes.
Hey, you know how old people keep cash around the house? One time my grandfather, he gathered his cash together and had him put on a check, and he lost the check. It was like $400,000. So he went back to the bank and had him cut him another check. But it was just, old people just they don't believe in banks. Like literally, that's the cash he had in the house. You always hear about stuffing money in mattresses, or you growing up, your people had a safe, shit like that. That was a way of life back then, and trying to keep the bank out of your wallet, you should be actively doing that, because, like I said, that convenience is just a way to count your money and know what you got going on, and know what your buying power is, or know limiting what you can and can't do. Fuck that shit.
So earlier I spoke about keeping some cash in the house. Start with less than $500.
Just work your way up.
And just work your way up, but just keep less than $500 cash in the house somewhere that you can get to it. You could be a little cup hole in the wall somewhere, anywhere, somewhere safe. Keep that cash in the house. Now, number 3, seek integrity. Transact with people of integrity, even if it costs more to do this. In the end, fraudsters and others who contribute to unhealthy systems through their own greed or lust for power cause untold losses. All those little expenses related to transacting with integrity can end up being lifesavers if the alternative is you having assets in Bernie Madoff and Lehman Brothers. Number 4, bank at an intimate scale. Find a good, well-managed local bank or credit union for your banking business. Talk to your bankers to educate them about the dangers to you and the bank of a CBDC system.
Look, I got 2 credit unions and 1 bank. The bank is Wells Fargo, because when I'm out of town, that's convenient. But when it comes to my transactions, people giving me loans, my credit unions will break me off quick as a motherfucker.
Number 5, finance your friends, not your enemies. Start reducing your number of online and digital financial transactions and evolve away whenever possible from relying on or investing in the financial technology and the credit card companies that are financing and promoting digital IDs or health passports and CBDCs. Financing your local farmer or farm distribution service may not look like a great money maker, but it means you will have a better chance of not being cornered into eating insects and eating lab-grown meat. Number 6, support state officials who support financial freedom. Ask your state legislators to start a sovereign state bank like the Bank of North Dakota to protect your right to free financial transactions. Make sure it is a sovereign bank that supports private community banks and credit unions and helps to ensure that they can provide free private financial transactions. While you're at it, ask them to start a state bullion depository. Then, in the worst case scenario, you can use your gold and silver as a local currency.
Hey, did you see that article? Costco, I think Costco or Walmart or Sam's were offering those 1 ounce bars, and they sold out everywhere the first day, immediately, like within hours. $1,300 an ounce or whatever it was, sold out. Didn't matter. People were buying that. They want that liquidity. They want the safety. They want the positivity of knowing that this gold, this will be worth something.
Right, exactly. Demand the New York Fed be held accountable. Write and call your congressional representatives. Tell each representative that you are a constituent and you want them to take the following actions, whether through legislation, denial of funding, or available leverage that can apply, such as mandate an audit of the New York Fed, or insist that the government agencies that have failed to produce audits required by law, such as the DOD and HUD and U.S. Treasury, produce an annual clean audited financial statement. Or you can trace where the $21 trillion in funds missing from the U.S. government accounts have ended up as part of the audits of the New York Fed, the Treasury, the DOD, and the HUD. Or you can provide for a return of the missing money to the U.S. Treasury. Clearly communicate that the congressional representatives are not to pass any legislation or grant the Fed any more powers of funding until the Fed is audited, transparent, and held accountable and makes restitution for all illegal transactions in U.S. government accounts held by it or member banks. Congress should not accept any argument that the executive branch has the authority to proceed with the institution of CBDCs without congressional approval. Understand that $21 trillion amounts to $65,000 per person in the U.S. Also note that the amounts missing subsequent to the fiscal year 2015 are not yet known. Number 8, demand the U.S. exit, which wants to basically create their own CBDC. And number 9, say no to taxation without representation. Regarding taxation, the CBDC is a way to implement taxation without representation. Ask all of your federal and state representatives and everyone you know before you pay your taxes on April 15th why you should pay taxes when a $21 trillion or $65,000 per person in the U.S. is missing from the government coffers, and B, the U.S. government has gone along with the system in which the government books are cooked via the Federal Accounting Standards Advisory Board Statement 56. Number 10. Protect the Second Amendment. It will be hard to legislate and adopt CBDCs in the United States if the population is well armed. Get trained and buy a gun. Support groups fighting to protect the Second Amendment. Support the legislators who make sure that the efforts at gun control are stopped. Support the Constitution and gun ownership. Number 11. Warn your family and friends. People need to know what central bankers are planning so they too can take action now. Send as much information as you can to your friends and family who want this information. Don't shove it down their throat if they're not willing to listen to it. But wait for the signs of that person starting to wake up. And when they do, give them a little bit here, and they'll ask you for more, and you got tons of stuff you can give them. But just give it to them piecemeal. You don't give a steak to a baby.
Yeah, breadcrumbs, baby, breadcrumbs.
Exactly.
Yeah, come on.
Number 12. Don't let propaganda convince you CBDCs are okay. Educate yourself about propaganda tactics used to sell you on things that are not in your best interest.
Yes.
And the last one, number 13, celebrate the opportunity. Decentralizing financial power can significantly improve our economy. It is a serious opportunity if we can't grab it. Join with interested neighbors and explore practical opportunities. particularly around local fresh food. If we grow our own food supply, it will make it much harder for the bankers to control the transaction system.
We talked about that shit about a year and a half ago, where they wanted you to register your garden.
Mm-mm.
That shit should not ever exist.
Mm-mm.
Ever. Ever, ever, ever.
Why? Why do you want to know how many oranges or tomatoes or
Cucumbers, watermelons, whatever.
whatever, how
Yeah.
much spinach is in there? Listen, unless this is a situation where it's a cannabis, state, a state that allows for recreational and medicinal, and you have to, tell them, or you have a plant count. You can only have, say, 6 plants, full adult plants, then 10 clones or something like that. You
Shit,
should,
like they did.
but even then, you're not telling them that you have that amount. That's just the law. You can't have more than that amount. But y'all don't realize that these plants can get huge. They can be the size of fucking trees. And
You'll see them.
6 huge plants, well, that's a lot of trees. So anyway, all I'm saying is nobody should be trying to look into your garden and tell you, oh, you need to be telling us how much you're growing. All of this goes into this whole Agenda 21, Agenda 2030 thing about we need to control this, and you can a 15-minute city, and you can't go 15 minutes outside the city, and you can only fly 4 times in your life. Oh,
Fuck you, motherfucker.
so you want somebody to live like a fucking peasant. That's what this shit is, because y'all motherfuckers are traveling all the time. These business folks that are traveling in these private jets, 150 times a year. But I can't go see my people whenever I feel like it. Or I can't just go on a pleasure cruise somewhere just to decompress and not think about the world. Fuck out of here, man. What are you talking about? But because y'all motherfuckers are so willing to give up everything, giving up the ghost for convenience, stop doing that shit, man. Stop giving it away so willingly. What annoys me with my people is the willingness to be so flashy and hip, slick, and cool that you don't see the cost of doing that shit. And I'm not talking about financial.
It affects you mentally, spiritually. Your kids don't respect you. All kinds of shit. Look, stop sacrificing your well-being for fashion, my nigga, for real.
People, how can I say this? All right, so you have to make people use cash. You have to. The same way they made people start using plastic. The same way everybody got hooked on fucking Cash App. You got Zelle, you got Cash App. Pay me in cash. I did a job recently, a little quick job. And I said, I need to get paid in cash. And he's like, why? I said, because that's my preference. He said, I said, he said, do you have change? I'm like, I'll bring change. I'll whatever change you need, I got it, dude. Just pay me in cash. The other 2 guys, they got paid digitally. That transaction, swept into the dustbin of time.
Oblivion doesn't exist. They won't
It
remember
feels good. It's freeing. It's freeing, dude. I can go and I can do some shit and nobody has to know except for me and those people.
Look. Here's the issue. When you have large amounts of cash, you're worried about getting robbed. Motherfuckers are robbing you digitally all the time. You got these programmers admitting that, hey, man, like if your digital information is on a server, I'm hitting you for 32 cents and you don't even realize it. You can be robbed. They said 1 in 4 online transactions is fraudulent. You're getting robbed. People getting robbed. The only difference is they ain't putting the gun in your face. They're just taking your shit and you don't even know it.
I'm going to give you another example. Hey, man, fuck PayPal. Okay? Fuck PayPal for real, because they were willing to charge a person $2,500 and just pull it out of your account, your checking account, if you were saying things online that were going against the agenda. And I said, who the fuck are you to be charging me this amount of money for something that I said? Who made you the arbiter of thought? Who made you the fucking captain of the thought police? Yo, These motherfuckers, that if you look at what's going on with them, you always get an update. You always get emails. Our policy change. Dude, you change this policy every 3 days. There are policy emails in my inbox every 3 days from PayPal. We're changing this. We're changing that. I'm like, why? Why is it such a big fucking deal? eBay is another motherfucker, dude. If you sell some shit on eBay,
oh yeah,
dude,
yeah.
you ain't gonna get your money for like a week. Like, you won't get your money right away.
No, you get your money right away, but then all of a sudden at the end of the month, they hit you with a fee that you didn't know that you had. That's how they get you.
But here's the thing, though. Okay, so you have listing fees and you have seller fees. Now, it fluctuates based on what you sell. I'm like, well, why isn't there a flat rate for everything? Because all you're doing is just...
Middleman. Just the middleman.
No. But all you're doing is putting the pictures up that I take and the words that I type onto your web page, and you're just posting on there. So if I sell books, those are 15%. If I sell electronics, it's almost like a different percentage. I looked at the chart 3 days ago, and there's different percentages for different things. And I'm like, so you're just picking and choosing how much you want to take from each thing that sells, as opposed to a flat rate. That's bullshit, dude. And then you're charging like all these other fees. So I looked at this thing that I just sold, and they took the money out at the beginning. So they're telling me, this is what it's supposed to be. This is what we're taking out, and this is going to be yours. So I'm like, cool. If you already took it out, I don't want to see it at the end of the month. I don't want to see that come out of the money that I made at the end of the month.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
After I've already paid, I'm not going to pay you twice. I'm not. Don't you try that slick shit with me. I'm not paying you twice. You already took it out. I took a screenshot of this shit. So if you want to fucking go toe to toe, I'm going to put it back in your face. I'm like, there's a receipt right there, motherfucker. I already paid for this. That fucking money you just took out of my account, put it back.
But that's how they get you. they hit you with new fees all the time. And they try to sound legitimate when they do this shit.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And I'm like, no, dog. Like, and then the crazy part about it is they changed it again. So it used to be they would just use PayPal. They would use PayPal to charge you the fees. And so now they want your banking account. I'm like, So apparently something happened between you and PayPal.
Y'all had a falling out.
Mm-hmm. Because y'all both on some bullshit. But that's the shit that is really fucking annoying, though. You know what I'm saying? And you gotta be, and that's another thing about all these digital transactions. You gotta do so much homework. You always have to be on the hamster wheel, clocking this shit.
See, them niggas got a legal team. You ain't got somebody reading information all the time and deciphering it for you. You got to figure this shit out on your own.
Mm-hmm. That's right. And it's so funny though. Now, of course, I could easily go the route and say, well, I'm just not going to use either one of these anymore. And my life will be fine and life will go on. You know what I'm saying? But the thing is that there's that whole convenience thing. But now see, as a platform, eBay is okay for buyers. Not so great for sellers though. That's why I might sell something on there once every 5 years. But I'll buy stuff off there, but I rarely sell on that motherfucker, man. But and they want to ask you all this information. I'm just like, dude, y'all motherfuckers are a trip. Like, you so fast to take shit, but so slow to give anything. Yeah, and that's another thing, man. It's like you have to know your worth. You have to know like what you can and can't live without. And throughout time, that changes, man. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah.
And actually, those should grow. Actually, your worth should grow, and what you can live without should grow.
Diminish. Like, look.
No, it shouldn't diminish. Like what you should live without, it should get higher. It should get higher. It should increase with your self-worth.
But I don't need these people. I don't need this service. I don't need that shit. Yeah, I got you. Eliminate. Right.
Exactly. So, but that's a whole thing there. Like you really have to be on top of this shit, man. because you just wind up paying for shit. And that's another thing about all these online transactions. Well, it's only 8 cents here, 27 cents here. Okay, whenever I hear that, I think of this movie, Hackers. And it was the first movie that really came out about this shit. And it was like how these kids were going around, they were like, committing crimes and like doing things and like taking money and shit. And then one of them was a worm that travels through accounts, taking 2 cents here, 5 cents there. So if you're just doing that to 5 million people, you making a sweet little nickel off of that shit. You know what I'm saying? It don't seem like a lot. That's why. It's like a vampire that just comes and like takes a little prick, tiny little pinprick of your blood every night. Now, you may think that's not a big deal, but that's your life force. And you giving your life force away to a vampire, just one little pinprick at a time every night for your whole life. When you think about how much of your life would be improved by keeping that inside your body and being strong and vital instead of being drained. But they are vampires. But see, get better at saying no. A lot of what we're talking about today is about the power of no. And saying no to... This is a yes society.
It's so bad when you speak up, you think that guy's a crazy person. Like, oh, no, I don't want to do this. What's wrong with you, man? Shit. We are literally attacking the person who's making the most sense, all for convenience. Like, hey, man, shit, you fucking the lineup, son. Shut the fuck up. Nah, He or she is actually the one that's doing the right thing. And like I said, black folks all the time, we've been doing that shit for years. When a black person speaks up, hey, man, shit, you messing it up. Man, shit. No, they're not messing it up. They're doing it the right way. You should have the courage to do the same thing.
Walking and biking has benefits the car doesn't have. A study done by Canterbury University in the UK showed that on 4 out of 5 routes to the university at peak hour, a bike got them there quicker than cars that left at the same time. Walking and biking are good for your health, mental and physical, and they save money. Not to mention, walking and biking are much better for the natural environment, and they reduce traffic congestion and on the roads. Businesses add value to products and sell them for a higher price, including a profit margin. For instance, potato processing businesses might wash or peel potatoes and sell them in bags. They might grate the potatoes for hash browns or mash the potatoes and dehydrate them to make instant mashed potatoes.
Add some value.
Mm-hmm. This type of value adding happens to every single sort of produce. It doesn't matter what end it happens at. Other processing companies will create products for a mixture of raw materials and essentially do all your food preparation and much of your cooking for you. There are significant health issues related to sedentary, easy lifestyles. The message is clear. While there is a place for convenience foods and fast food should be minimized. Excuse me. Should be minimized as much as possible. At the same time, there's also a huge increase in mental health diseases like depression and anxiety, and substance abuse. And many psychologists blame this on affluent lifestyles. So value adding, along with the convenience of modern appliances, liberated women, in particular, from the drudgery and servitude of housework. This meant that they could now work in the money economy rather than the home economy. Consequently, a huge portion of women joined the workforces of countries around the world in the middle to late 1900s. Many of them unskilled, they ended up in the factory work and other menial jobs, working in drudgery and servitude for a stranger who would profit from their labor. So they went from drudgery and servitude in their house to drudgery and servitude for a company. Exactly. Workers do get paid, though what they use to pay the same rich guys they work for labor-saving devices, cars to get to work and pick up their children from daycare, processed food and ready-made meals, and the consolations of fashion shopping and mindless entertainment. It is good that women are liberated and have the freedom to choose the work that they want to do. However, being a home economy worker is much more dignified, satisfying, and rewarding than many servile money economy based jobs. The ideology of convenience fails to recognize that overcoming difficulty and the challenges of daily life is a meaningful and satisfying aspect of human experience, whereas being passive and lazy is devitalizing and worthless. Challenge and struggle is not necessarily a problem. It can be the solution to becoming a better, more vital, and fulfilled person. Inconvenience rewards us with growth because it involves an encounter with some form of obstacle or resistance with the limits of our own abilities and energies, for instance. By overcoming these challenges, we develop our skills and our willpower, which means we can take on greater challenges and grow as active agents in life. So I always say, get used to being uncomfortable, because once you do, you can do more and you can get more accomplished in life. You can shake off these little weak things that you would let stop you before. I don't want to do that. It doesn't make me comfortable. Get past that shit.
People can't control you. If you're used to being uncomfortable, they can't threaten you with anything. That's how they get you. Like, oh man, we'll do this to you. Okay, go ahead, motherfucker. I'll put up a fight. You won't like what I do next.
It's because, they know you're predictable. They know that, okay, all I have to do is place this stumbling block in there and he'll just give up. He'll give up. And unless you're dealing with a fighter, and when you got a fighter, when you look at a motherfucker and they've got that look in their eye like, I will not be stopped. This too shall pass. But going back to the original conversation about cash, use cash every day. We gave you ways to take action and to let people know, hey, this is how it's going to be. Just because the future is ahead does not mean you have to be brain dead. Look, that's all I got. We out. Peace.
Holla back.